Hello, I'm Mombierella. Welcome to A Tale as Old as Time. Please remember to subscribe and click the notification bell to keep up to date on all the new and upcoming videos. And now, Poor Unfortunate Soul, Tale of the Sea Witch by Serena Valentino. Copyright Disney Enterprises Incorporated, 2016. Chapter 14. Her Ultimate Design. The kingdom was in a tizzy over the announcement of Prince Eric's wedding. The entire seaside was buzzing with excitement and a bit of confusion. Everyone was wondering who the young woman was, the dark-haired siren Prince Eric had fallen in love with. Everyone, that is, except the little mermaid. When she heard the news of a wedding, the poor dear thought she would be marrying the prince. You couldn't blame her, really. They had almost kissed the day before, and something in his eyes when they were in that little boat together made her feel like he loved her. Maybe he had finally remembered. Maybe he remembered it was she who had saved his life. She was so happy as she hastily tidied up before rushing to the landing to find Eric. She'd been fretting over how she was going to get him to kiss her before sundown, and now they'd be kissing at their own wedding. As she raced to the landing to find her fiancé, she saw something wholly unexpected, and it shattered her world and broke her heart. The prince was standing with a beautiful young woman in the main hall, talking with his valet and great confidant, Sir Grimsby. Until that very moment, Grimsby had doubted the mysterious woman with the angelic voice Eric had been speaking of even existed. Grimsby had been haranguing Eric about his foolishness and pining for and swooning over a phantom siren when he had a lovely young woman beneath his very roof. But he had to admit Eric was right when he brought the young woman before him on the bright sunny morning. "Well now, Eric, it appears I was mistaken. This mystery maiden of yours does in fact exist. She is lovely. Congratulations, my dear." Grimsby kissed Vanessa on the hand, welcoming her to the family. "We wish to be married as soon as possible," said Eric in a hollow, enchanted voice. "Yes, of course, Eric, but, you see, these things do take time. This afternoon, Grimsby, the wedding ship departs at sunset." Sunset? Sunset! The word sent terror through Ariel's broken heart. She saw the ruin of her entire life in that moment. Ursula's words echoed in her ears. "If he does kiss you before the sun sets on the third day, you'll remain human permanently. But if he doesn't, you turn back into a mermaid, and you belong to me." Ariel hadn't even thought about what that would mean. Belonging to Ursula? "Oh, very well, Eric, as you wish," said Grimsby before hurrying off to make the preparations for the wedding. Ariel was shattered. She had lost her dearest love, and at sunset she would lose her soul to the sea witch. She would end up a shriveled little creature in Ursula's garden, and her father would never know what happened to her. She'd made a ruin of her life, with no thought for her family or friends. What would they think happened to her? Where did they think she was now? This wouldn't be happening if her father hadn't said all those awful things to her, condemning her for saving Eric. His voice boomed like thunder in her mind as she remembered their horrible conversation. "Is it true you rescued a human from drowning? Contact between the human world and mer world is strictly forbidden." She heard his voice as clearly as when he had said those terrible things. She tried to make him understand, tried to make him see reason, but he didn't care. It didn't matter to him that Eric had almost died. One less human to worry about. It meant nothing to him that she loved him. They're all the same, spineless, savage, harpooning fish-eaters incapable of any feeling. It only fueled his fury, causing a cyclone of violence that had sent her seeking Ursula's help escaping her father, and the life he wanted her to live, and it had all been for nothing. She would never know what it was to live in the human world. Her life was over before it had really begun. She'd been so foolish to think Eric had fallen in love with her, foolish to have made a deal with the sea witch, foolish for throwing her life away for the love of someone who didn't love her in return. She'd been so sure Eric had fallen in love with her when she saved him from drowning, and he'd taken her into his home when he found her on the shores of his kingdom. Why had she given her voice to the sea witch? If only he could hear her sing, he would know it was she who had saved him. She had thought for sure they were going to kiss in the boat the day before. She'd thought he was starting to remember. She'd thought he was falling in love. If only he'd kissed her that day. If only the boat hadn't turned over before... Never mind. Her thoughts spiraled through the past few days, going over every detail again and again. When her head stopped spinning, she felt nothing but regret. "I've lost everything. Everything," she thought. In 3 short days. She saw her dreams slipping away and turning into a nightmare. She'd been so intrigued that night when she saw Eric on his ship playing the snarflap. She'd never seen a human that close before, and she thought he was probably the most handsome being she'd ever laid eyes on. She'd imagined what his life must be like, traversing the sea, seeing the world, dancing beneath the stars. She imagined where he must live, surrounded by beautiful things, human things, like those she'd been collecting in her cave. He could have shown her so many more human treasures, things she'd never even imagined. She had fancied her life with him as an endless adventure of discovery, and now it was all over. She had thought the sea gods had brought this wonderful prince into her life for a reason, casting down his ship in that terrible storm, plunging him into her ocean, giving her the means and strength to save him, making her fall in love with him. Why would the gods do that and not give them a chance at love? She wouldn't have taken the risk if she hadn't thought they were meant for each other. If she had her voice, she could tell Eric everything. She was heartbroken and alone, wishing for the days when she first arrived in Eric's kingdom, when she thought he loved her. She couldn't believe he was about to marry someone else. She was helpless. She was desperate, and she was angry. She wanted to scream, but the sea witch had her voice. Ariel! Ariel! It was her friend Scuttle the seagull. He flew onto the pier, rambling in a panic. I was flying? Of course I was flying, he sputtered, not making much sense. Ariel could communicate with sea creatures, being one herself, and with the like of Scuttle, but that didn't help her make out what he was saying as he sputtered and blubbed. Ariel desperately wanted to tell him to calm down and talk slowly as he continued, getting to his point at last. I saw the witch! The witch was watching the mirror, and she was singing with a stolen set of pipes! Do you hear what I'm telling you? The prince is marrying the sea witch in disguise! Thank you so much for listening. Remember, like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell to keep up to date on all the new magic. Have a magical day.